Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Chaitanyam Sarvagam Sarvam Sarvabhuta Guhashayam Yat Sarva Vishayatitam Tasmai Sarvavide Namaha. Kevalam manasovrittim pashyan manta matehe ajaha. Ajaha, unborn one, vikar rahita ityartha. The one changeless self, kevalam manasovrittim pashyan. All that the unborn self does is pashyan, watching, witnessing, illumining, shining in its own nature. Matehe manta, vijñatehe vijñata is called matehe manta. Is called the thinker of thinking. Is called the knower of knowing. These are the designations that this self gets by virtue of what it is, Not that there is any attempt on the part of the self, the consciousness, because unborn, nirvikara, changeless. One cannot be even a witness in primary sense and be changeless. Because witness also will undergo change with respect to what is witnessed. If Sakshiya keeps changing, the Sakshi will undergo a sympathetic change. So even this Sakshi, none of these words can apply in primary sense. And so then how do you describe him? Matehe manta, vijñatehe vijñata, drishtehe drashta. He is said to be the seer of the seeing, hearer of the hearing, thinker of thinking, knower of knowing. This is the designation he gets. Like same Brahman is called creator, sustainer, dissolver. So, Srashta is called creator. Samharaka, Niyanta. By virtue of just being what Brahman is, with reference to creation, Brahman gets all the designations. So the virtue of Atma being what it is, with thrust in the internal world of seeing, hearing, thinking, he gets this designation. What it is he is, Atma is. But these are the doorways to know the Atma. Matihi, Mananam is taking place. That Mananam can become a gateway of knowing Atma, because Atma is described as the thinker of thinking, knower of knowing. So knowing can become the gateway of knowing the knower. Thinking can become the gateway of knowing the thinker. Pratibodha Viditatmananda, as the Kenopanishad says, Bodham Bodham Prati, with every cognition you recognize Brahman as the witness, illuminator, as the content of every cognition. Vijna alupta shaktitvat. Again, nature is alupta shakti. Whose power, which is consciousness, alupta, never suffers a cessation, which is not that he has to make an effort to shine is a nature. And therefore, sometimes Shastra says, dhyayati, lelayati, Atma as though concentrates, Atma as though gets distracted, as though there is no dhyanam, no lilayanam. Atrasteneti shuddhatvam. So is nirvikaratvam. The vikara of dhyaya, so being a dhyata, dhyata also will change, but then Atma is not dhyata, the meditator in the primary sense. All these words become only pointers to knowing the Atma. Atrasteneti. Atma will become vikari, become impure if he is the primary sense of thinker, knower, etc. Atrastenaha asteno bhavati, bhrunaha abhrunaha. Even a sinner also becomes sinless. Stena, the thief, cannot become a non-thief in deep sleep. If thief was his nature, he could never become a non-thief. Bhrunaha, a killer of the embryo, cannot become nirdosha, innocent, unless innocence was nature and this bhrunahatvam, all of these are superimposed upon the Atma. The waking and dream states, Atma is known with superimpositions. Therefore the state of deep sleep is described, which is a state when all superimpositions are gone. Shakti alopa sushupte jnana. We say Atma is consciousness. How come? In the deep sleep state, I am not conscious of anything. If consciousness is my nature, I should be conscious all the time. How come in deep sleep state I am not conscious of anything? Sushupte jnana. The self is jnana, consciousness. Shakti alopat, that nature of consciousness does not suffer a cessation. It is not connected with Sushupti. Atma is as a platform or substratum upon which this play of waking, dream, deep sleep, which all belongs to the mind, they all take place. And the self-conscious, uninvolved witness, you can call it uninvolved witness. Anasnan anyo abhichakashiri. One bird is a bhokta, performs actions, gains results, experiencing the outcome. The other bird, Brahman, the self, merely shines, illumines, blesses. Then, how about this changing? Looks like the Atma also Gneyasya Visheshastu. Bodhavastham Katham Janami. If simply consciousness were my nature, then how come I feel that I am a knower? The knower also keeps on changing. That change does not take place in knower. Gneyasya eva visheshastu. It is gneyam, the object of knowledge, that keeps on changing. Those changes are thought to take place in the self. Yatra va anya divasyat tatra anya anyat pashyet. Where there is the other, then one sees the other. But where this is from Atmaiva Bhut, where the anya is not there. To think that there is someone other than me, then I become the seer of that other one. But whether the other one is really there or is it a projection of my mind, as long as that projection is thought to be real, so long I become the seer of seeing something other than myself. Yattatu asya sarvam atmaiva bhut. But when there is recognition that all is that Atma, all there is, seer also a role that is performed by consciousness. So also the seen, seeing, drashta, drishya, darshanam, all of these are the roles performed by the jña. So the word jña is used. Nantah prajñam, na bahish prajñam, no bhaitah prajñam. In all of that, the jña is common. Antah prajñah is dreamer, bahish prajñah is waker, prajnana ghanaha, sleeper. In all of them, what is common is jña. Other things are all states of mind. And because of state of mind, not discriminating between the mind and the self, we think that the self is dreamer, self is waker, self is sleeper. That is how Atma gains various designations. Yes, but then waking is a Vishesha, is a characteristic of the knowledge, object of knowledge. The waking, dreaming, deep sleep are not the attributes of Atma, they are the Gneyasya Visheshastu Gneya. The mind, these are all the attributes of the mind. When that Viveka is not there, then Atma is thought to be Viveka, dreamer, deep sleeper. Waking, dreaming, deep sleep all belong to Gneya, the object of knowledge. Now continuing the verse number 40. Jatika says, Evam Nitya Chaitanya Swarupatvat Nitya Paroksha Nirvikarasya Atma Yuktam Prapanchayati. Evam Nitya Chaitanya Swarupatvat. Self being of the nature of Nitya Chaitanya, changeless consciousness, eternal consciousness. There is Swarupam. There is the very nature of the self, not it is to become changeless. And therefore is my very self. Nitya Aparoksha, therefore, the self that is changeless or eternal consciousness has to be myself really. The only conscious entity is the self. Others are all unconscious. And therefore, that changeless consciousness has to be my own self, therefore, Nitya Paroksha is always immediate. Self is always direct and immediate as my own self. Aparoksha means self, in fact. Nirvikarascha, and also nirvikara, changeless, undergoing no vikara, no change at all. Because Jnaya Seva Visheshas, all Vikara belongs to Jnaya. What is the limit? All Parokshata belongs to Jnaya. What is the limit? So there is Parokshata. Aparoksha immediate, Paroksha mediate, you can say. Mediate when there is an intervention. Aparoksha without intervention, without the immediacy. Nirvikarasya atma iti uktam. That has been said in these verses. Prapanchayati, that nature of the Atma that has been essentially described in these verses, Prapanchayati, is now being explained in the next three verses. What is Paroksha? What is Aparoksha? What is self-effulgent? This is what is stated, is being now explained. So, next verse is Vivadhanadhiparoksyam lokadrushteranaatmanah drushterātmasvarūpatvad pratyaksham brahma tatsmritam. Vyavadhanad hi paroksham. Paroksham, indirectness, medium. So, pratyaksha and paroksha. Pratyaksha, what is immediate. Paroksha, what is mediate, remote, away. So, where there is vyavadhanam? Vyavadhanam means interference. So, where there is some interference between a knower and the known, as for example, so loka drushti, I am a loka, an individual, I have loka drushti, I have the seeing which is the worldly kind of seeing, by the eyes which are the creation. So then the drashti, the seeing that takes place by an individual through the organ of perception is called loka drashti. Paroksham in that loka drashti, meaning that when I perceive an object such as a pot, that pot is perceived by my eyes which are the drashti, the seeing of an individual. Therefore there is a vyavadhanam, intervention between myself and the part. There is the mind involved, there are the sense organs, the eyes involved, then only the part can be perceived. Part cannot be perceived unless it is illumined by the light of consciousness emerging through eyes. And eyes also cannot illumine unless they are illumined by the light of consciousness emerging through mind. Therefore, the only way the part can be cognized is when the part is illumined by consciousness. Anything can become the object of knowledge when that thing is illumined by the light of consciousness. Consciousness cannot illumine anything directly, because consciousness enjoys a reality which is paramadika satta, a transcendental reality. All the object elements all enjoy vyavaharika satya. And therefore, consciousness or Atma cannot directly illumine anything. Therefore, the Atma first illumines the mind, through that illumines the sense organs, through that illumines the object. That's the only way that Atma can illumine. That's the only way that the world objects or worlds as Ghatapata can be known by us. So therefore, anatmana, what is anatma? What is non-self can only be known when this process of elimination takes place, which requires an intervention between Atma and the part of the nature of mind and sense organs are involved. It's called Vyavadhanam. So Vyavadhana means intervention, something in between. Anatma, therefore, the only way Anatma can be known is when there is Vyavadhanam, the intervention of the mind and sense organ, that's called Loka Drishti. So the perception of a part is called Loka Drishti. And therefore, Anatmana Paroksham, therefore a part is not immediate, it is mediate. There is mediacy of the mind, sense organs, then only the part can be known. But what about the drishti that sees that? This is Loka Drishti, perceiving through these organs of perception. What about drishti? That drishti that illumines the part is drishti through eyes, through mind, which ultimately is drishti of consciousness. Consciousness gets reflected in the mind, then through the sense organs, then illumines the object. But the real drishti that illumines this is what? Atma Swarupattvat. That Atma Swarupa drishti or seeing which is the nature of the Atma becomes Loka Drishti when that drishti has intervention of mind and sense organs. The true nature of Loka Drishti is Atma Drishti. So real drishti is only Atma. Atma alone can illumine, nothing else can illumine. Drishte Atma Swarupattvat. Therefore, the drishti essentially is the nature of Atma, which first illumines mind, then illumines sense organs, then illumines the objects. Pratyaksham Brahmata Smritam, therefore, Atma is Pratyaksha, Anatma is Paroksha, Atma is Pratyaksha, immediate, mediate and immediate. Because to know the self, the mind is not required, sense organs are not required to see the self because self is seeing it. The part is not self-effulgent. Even sense organs are also not self-effulgent. Mind also is not self-effulgent, so they have to be made effulgent by the consciousness being reflected in that. Atma does not have to be made effulgent because effulgence is the nature of the self. Therefore, the only thing is pratyaksh, immediate itself, Atma, the consciousness. And there is Brahma. So Brahma is immediate. So Brahma is said to be pratyaksham. So the Tikakara explains, Anatmana Paroksham. That's what the verse is. Anatmana Ghatadehi Vishayasya. The Vishaya, the objects, that is Ghatadi, Ghata, Pata, etc. Grahikayaha Loka Drishte. The Drishti, the sight that perceives the part is the sight of the eyes. Tad grahaka chakshuradi drishte. Therefore, the drishti which perceives the part is the loka drishti. In this case, drishti of the eyes, drishti of the ears, drishti of the organ of perception, shabda sparsha. These are all perceived that way. Deshatah kalatah vyavadhanat. So anatma is separated by desha, by space. Sometimes by time also, if it is past or future. Oh, deshatah kalatah va. either separated from me in space or in time, or really there is a vyavadhanam, the intervention of the mind and sense organs really. Asannikarshat. Therefore, the anatma is not sannikarsha, is not immediate. Parokshami prasya. Therefore, anatma is paroksha. Anatma paroksham. और अनात्मा परोक्षता, सो अनात्मा परोक्ष तत्व निकाल देने का है. सो परोक्षता में ता निकाल देना, आत्मा ने उसमें 6 केस निकाल देना. आत्मा अनात्मा परोक्ष प्रसिद्धम. सो अनात्मा इज परोक्ष, इज immediate, is something well known in this manner. तथा आत्मनः दृष्टिविधानमस्ति. But as far as drishti of Atma is concerned, Atma is drishti, therefore there is no separation of space and time or any other separation. Drishti Atma Swarupatvat. Any drishti is Atma Swarupa, by the way. Even Loka drishti also, the drishti of seeing through ear, eyes also is ultimately Atma drishti. But because that Chakshur drishti involves the mind and chakshu, therefore you call it Loka drishti. The drishti is only Atma. That enables the mind to see, that enables eyes to see, drishti is only Atma. Drishti, Atma Swarupatvat. Even the Loka drishti also, in essence, is only Atma Swarupam, consciousness. Atma is Brahmatvat, and then it's known that Atma is Brahman from the Shruti. Tad Brahma Svataheva Sada Pratyaksham Smrutam. Therefore, that Brahma is always said to be Pratyaksham, immediate. Yet Sakshat Aparokshat Brahma. So here the author uses the word Pratyaksham for Sakshat Aparokshat. But it is Sakshat Aparoksham in Upanishad. Aparoksham immediate, Sakshat directly immediate. So for that, here the word Pratyaksha is used. Pratyaksha doesn't mean the object of perception. That's what Pratyaksha means. Aksham Pratyaksha means the object, the sense organ of perception. So word Pratyaksha means that which is perceived through sense organ. But here Pratyaksha means immediate. Sakshat Aparoksham. Smrutam, that's what he said, Brahma Vidvihi, by the knowers of Brahman, therefore, Brahman, which is the nature of self, is said to be immediate. Where Loka Drishti is not required, the organs of perception is not required, the mind is not required, the vyavadhana is not required. So, Anya Anapekshatvam. That the pot to be lighted has an apeksha or the expectation of the illumination of the eyes. Eyes to be illuminated have the need for the illumination of the mind. The mind, for its illumination, has need of illumination of the self. Self-illumination, what does it need? Self-illumination. Drugeva nato dushyate. Only drashta who is not seen. So Surupaka anya anapekshatvam. That for the self to shine doesn't need any source of illumination. For the pot to shine requires the source of illumination of the eyes. For eyes to shine requires a source of illumination of the mind. For mind to shine requires a source of illumination in itself. This business of illuminated has to stop someplace. And stops in Atma, which is self-illumined. Dustantena Sfurayati is clarified with an illustration. So next verse is नहि दीपान्तरापेक्षा यद्वद्दीपप्रकाशने बोधस्यात्मस्वरूपत्वात् न बोधोऽन्यस्तथेष्यते. नहीं दीपांतरापेक्षा यद्वद दीप प्रकाशने यद्वद जस्ट एज दीप प्रकाशने for the shining of the deep or the lamp, for the lamp to shine, the deepantarapeksha, there is no need for another deepa, the light. Just as a lamp does not require another lamp to illumine that because it is self-effulgent. Svabodhe nanyabodhe cha bodhasvarupate atmana na dipasyannya depecha yasa yadvat swatma prakashane yasa swatma prakashane. Swatma Buddha says this, that a lamp does not require another lamp to illuminate because it is self-effulgent. So Atma doesn't require another light of consciousness to illumine that. That is called self-effulgence. Anatma is non-self-effulgent, self-non-effulgent. But the fact that things shine, things are illumined, things are known, indicates that there must be someone or something that is self-illuminated. If everything required to be illuminated by something else, there will be infinite regression because you're not yet arrived at one that is illuminated. If every illuminator requires to be illuminated, then there is infinite regression. Therefore, there must be an illuminator that doesn't require illumination. Maybe father is the son, all right. But the first father must be one who is father and not the son. Maybe guru is shishya, all right. But first guru must be one who is guru but not shishya. Maybe illuminator is illuminated, all right. Na tata suryo bhati, na chandra tarakam, etc. So sun, moon, all of these required to be illumined also. Tasya vasa sarvamidam vibhati. All this shines by the light of consciousness. Bodhasya atmasvarupatvat. Bodha means knowledge of consciousness because knowledge is the nature of Atma. Where the word knowledge is used in the sense of consciousness, the primary meaning of knowledge is consciousness. Satyam jnanam anantam. So knowledge, the primary meaning of the word knowledge is consciousness. You know something means you are conscious of something. Then in secondary sense, that knowledge can be called the vritti jnanam, the state of mind or state of intellect. Is called also jnanam in a secondary sense, not in primary sense. So satyam jnanam anantam brahma. There what he says, satyam brahman is satyam jnanam. That jnanam means only not a state of buddhi. Jnana means the consciousness. That's the primary meaning of the word jnana. And mind gets illuminated by consciousness, and in turn illumines objects. Therefore, mind also can be called knower, etc. In a secondary sense. Na bodha anya tatha ishyate. Therefore, for Atma to shine, no other illuminator is required because to shine is the nature of Atma. Evam aparokshatavam vishadikritya. Thus Atma is aparoksh, immediate. Vishadikritya, having clarified, clearly explained. Avikaratvam vishadikurvanna. Now the teacher wants to also clarify avikaratvam, the changelessness of the Atma. Atmana nirvisheshatvam aha. What can be changeless? That which is devoid of all the attributes alone can be changeless. Any attribute is subject to coming and going. That's called attribute. This person is great because of some reason, and that is not there, the greatness also is not there. The attribute is there because of some reason. Wealthy person because of wealth, great person because of greatness, or whatever. But that is all savisheshatvam. If Atma is savishesha, the greatness is because of something, the effulgence also is because of something, then it is going to be subject to change, because what is the cause, once it goes away, it no more remains effulgent. Nirvisheshatvam, therefore, what is nirvishesham? Devoid of all vishesha, all attributes, that alone can be changeless. Because an attribute is always incidental, not essential. I am good, I am bad, I am right, I am wrong, all of these are because of something. They are all incidental. I am, that's the only thing that is essential. So, nirvisheshatvam. Ultimately, truth has to be nirvishesham. Vedanta, there is no problem with but vishesha are all superimposed upon nirvishesha. We call it savishesha, all right. You use the expression savishesha, meaning visheshena sahavartate, that is obtained with vishesha or attribute or qualification. That seems to convey the idea that the qualifier and qualification of the same degree of reality. No, qualification is superimposed upon the unqualified. So Atma is nirvikara only if it is nirvishesha. Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavihastini shunicheva swapakecha pandita samadarshina. The samatvam can be there only with this nirvisheshatvam. Well, Brahmana, etc., all Visheshas, all having the substratum of Nirvishesham. So the next verse says, Vishayatvam vikaritvam nanatvam vanahishyate naheyo napyudaya न हेयो नाप्युपादेयः आत्मा नान्येन वा ततः. Vishayatvam, about Atma, Vishayatvam, their objectivity, Atma can never become objectified, cannot be objectified. So Vishayatvam, the state of being objectified cannot be in Atma. Vikaritam, then what is, so Gneyasya all Visheshata is in Gneya. All Visheshata, all attributes are always in Gneya, that which is known. That is where the Vikara is there. Vikaritam also belongs to Gneya or Anatma. Nanatvam, manness, also becomes only in what is known. Subject is when the objects keep on changing. So objects are many, subject is one. Objects keep on changing, subject does not change. Objects all vary, subject is non-variant. Naishate. Therefore, the subject cannot be objectified, subject cannot undergo a change. Subject cannot be many, otherwise it can't be subject. Naishyate. If you accept Shruti Virodhadi Shesha, if you think that Atmas are many, that will contradict the Shruti. Eko Devaha Sarva Bhuteshu Gudaha. Eko Devaha. If you think Devata, self Atma are many, they will contradict the Shruti. So also if you think that Atma is Vikari, Nishchalam, Nishkriyam, all it will contradict the Shruti. It's Nischala, Nirvikara, Nirvishesha. And therefore, an Atma, what Atma means, it is not an Atma, it is not Vishaya. So consciousness is described as self, Atma, not an Atma. So therefore, if you think that Atma can be objectified, you are contradicting Shruti. If you think Atma undergoes change, you are contradicting Shruti. If you think Atma is many, then Sankhya say Atma are many. Visheshika say Atma is Vikari. And even Vaisheshika say Atma is Vishaya because consciousness, is one of the dravyas only. Nahish, all of this contradicts what the Upanishad says. So Tikakara says, Anyasya asatva jadatvat cheti hetu anusandheya. Why? Yatra anyadiva syat. The anyat eva Upanishad says there is no anyat. Yatra nanyat pashyati, nanyat shrunoti, nanyat vijanati sabhuma. Where one does not see the other, one does not hear the other, one does not know the other, there is no other. Anyasya asatvat. The anya other, even anatma is not there, all there is Atma. What is anatma is a superimposition which can be negated, leaving only the Atma, the substratum. Anyasya asatvat, there is no anya. Anya is non-existent. Jadatvacha, and if you accept it, it is only element, not self-effulgent. Iti hetuhu anusandheya. So because anya is asat, therefore nanatvam, manyness cannot be. Anya is jada, Atma is chetana, therefore vikaratvam cannot be. Atma is Atma, therefore Vishayatvam cannot be. Vanahishyade. Then next one says, Naheyo napipadeha Atma nanyena va tataha tata. For that reason, Atma anyena naheyaha. Atma cannot be here discarded by another one because there is no other one. The upadeha can be acquired by another one. Meaning Atma self is not subject to being given up or acquired by another one because there is no other one. Vashabdasva, nor by one's own self. One cannot acquire oneself, one cannot reject oneself. You can be acquired by someone, rejected by someone, if there is provided there is someone. So Atma is the word of heyatvam, upadeyatvam. Anyadevata viditat. Atho aviditat adhi. Neither heyaha nor upadeya. Viditam, heya, avidam upadeyam. Different from vidita and avidita, different from heya and upadeya. That is the definition of, that is how you arrive at Atma. So Atma is nirvikara also. Even though Atma cannot be acquired, cannot be rejected, even then also, kudha Atma nirvikara. So how does that mean that Atma is nirvikara? Atma cannot be acquired. I can't acquire myself. There is no one other than me. That's what was explained. But just because Atma is not available for being acquired or being rejected, how does that establish nirvikaratvam, changelessness of Atma? Narakapatadi bhaya darshana, because the scriptures talk of the narakapata. Akarane pratyavaya. If you fail to perform your duty, you will acquire the dosha, you will go to naraka. So narakapada is now just to reconcile with the whole scripture. Because the Karma Kanda describes Atma as subject to going to heaven as well as hell. So how do you explain Atma going to heaven and hell? If Atma is nirvikara, nirvikara has no gati. Naragapata, the bhaya darshana, there is always a fear of falling into hell. They must make sure that you always perform dharma and avoid adharma. Perform vihitam karma, avoid nishiddham karma, because there is a fear. So that way Vedas also create fear in this fellow. That if you don't do this, this is the outcome. Threatening. Sharirayatra vijate na prasidyet akarmana. Arjuna, if you give up karma, then even Sharirayatra, your sustain the body also won't be possible. Then the consequences of violating the law have to be stated. If you violate the law and live a life of dharma, then narakapata, certainly there is the consequence of hell. Therefore, live a life of dharma. How do you say Atma is nirvikara? And so the narakapata, the bhaya, because you find bhaya or fear in life, in short. Human being is always afraid of something or the other, including and a conscientious person is afraid of doing papa and naraka, which is not a right thing, but then you follow dharma because you are afraid of adharma, Because afraid of consequence of adharma, therefore you better perform dharma, otherwise, so you will be punished if you don't follow the law. So you follow law because to avoid punishment. Now that's the negative way. But otherwise this fellow is going to violate the law, therefore create in him fear of punishment. So we always find fear in the human beings. How do you say that Atma is nirvikara? So the next verse is Sabhakhyabhyantaro jirnaha Janma mrityu jaratigaha Aham atmeti yo veti Kuton veva vibheti saha Aham atma sabhakhyabhyantaro hyajah. That's what the Mundakopanishad says. Divyo hyamurtah purushah sabhakhyabhyantaro hyajah aprano shramana shubhra, etc. What is meant by sabhakhyabhyantara? So one that bahya abhyantara, so one that simultaneously exists bahya, outside as well as inside, possessed of externality and internality, meaning that devoid of externality, internality. If your Atma possesses internality, then doesn't have externality. Possess externality cannot have internality, simultaneous both external and internal, mean avoid, devoid of the external and internal. Ajiranaha, ajaha, ajiranaha, free from decrepitude. Janma mrityu jaratigaha, this is complete. Upanishad says, sabhakya bhyantaro hyaja aprano shamana shubhra shaksharat paratah paraha. So, janma mrityu jaratigaha, transcend the birth and death and old age. Ajo nitya shashvatovayam puranaha. Aham atmeti yo veti veda vinashanam nityam yayena vajamavyam katham sapurusha partha kam ghatayati hantikam. Veda avinashanam nityam, one who knows avinashi, self is avinashi, nitya, ajanma. How can he perform? How can he kill somebody, or how can he be killed by somebody? Aham atma savabhyantarah, aham atma ajirnah, aham atma janmatu jaratiha, iti yo veti. To know the self in this manner. Kutonvyo bibheti saha, na bibheti kutaschaneti. How can there be fear of any source? Who knows that I am birthless, deathless, free from decrepitude, free from change. I am here, there, everywhere. I am non-dual. There is fear from what? Fear from whom? Kutonveva bheveti saha kuta. From what source will I have fear? So Tika says, Samyak padat shodhana purvakam ya atma tattvam jan aham atma iti yo veti. Who knows atma sabahya abhyantaroham, I am simultaneously external and internal. Ajirnaha, free from decrepitude. Janma mrityu jaratiga, free from birth and death and old age. So one knows oneself in that manner. How do you know that? Samyak padatha shodhana purvakam. One has to recognize the true meaning of the word aham. I use the word aham for the self. Our Puja Swami used to say, one word that is most abused or ill-used is aham, or I. So the word I has a meaning to me right now. And as I know myself today, I think that I was born, I'm going to die, and there is always fear. The fear is always there, is an underlying current in all my life, really. The fear may not be explicit or overt, but the undercurrent of fear is always there in all my vyavahara. Fear of death, fear of failure, fear of being misunderstood, fear of something in all vyavahara. I make sure that some damage does not happen to me, damage to my body, damage to my reputation, damage to this, that, whatever is dear to me. So many things are dear to me. I'm attached to so many things in life. Why? Because of attachment to the body, attachment to mind, so attachment to ego, and that brings attachment to millions of things upon which my sense of well-being is dependent. That's what attachment, which is that important to me for my sense of well-being. When something is important to me for my sense of comfort, that's called attachment, dependence. And there is always fear when there is attachment. Attachment arises from a need. There's always a need when there is a sense of limitedness. When I feel lacking, wanting, limited, there is always a need for becoming free from that lack or want or need. So I'm constantly a needy person. When I'm needy, then I depend upon something that will fulfill my need. So that becomes important to me. I must keep them happy. At the same time, I view others as obstructing the fulfilling my need, therefore I have to keep them away. All the time. Keep this happy, keep them away. This is life. When that I is properly analyzed, tat samyak padatha shodhana purvakam, when what I take myself to be has to be looked into, whether the notions or conclusions that I am entertaining about myself are these valid conclusions? Do I have reason to take myself to be a limited being, wanting, lacking being? What reason do I have to look at myself in that manner? Is it based on some reasoning, or is it based just taken for granted? I'll find that all these conclusion myself, just habitual conclusions. I never looked at my conclusions, never subjected them to the scrutiny of reasoning, whether there is reasoning behind my conclusion, just taken for granted. Samyak padatha shodhanam, taken for granted who Ishvara is, taken for granted what I am, taken for granted what the Jagat is. Padatha shodhanam, when I subject my understanding to the scrutiny of reasoning, and with the help of Shruti and teacher, this is understood. Atma tattvam vijanati, then I realize that all this business of happy, unhappy, good, bad, indifferent, they're all anatma. My essential nature is I am. That's all I can say about myself. Everything else is changing. And because other things are because of reason. I'm happy because of reason, unhappy because of reason, here because of reason, there because of reason. Anything else you add to I am is because of reason. Only I am is there without reason. Why am I there? I am there. Why do that? I am there. That alone does not depend upon anything. So when I really scrutinize my notions about myself, I realize that they are all notions taken for granted without thinking. Avichara siddha samvida, not subjected to scrutiny of vichara or the deliberation. And therefore, letting go all these habitual conclusions. Samyak padatha shodhana purvakam. So the only way you can know Atma Tattva is padatha shodhanam. There is no other way of knowing Atma in true sense. Not the Atma appears. Someday I will stumble upon Atma. Atma appeared before me. That kind of thing cannot work because it's all you. The problem is not that you don't know yourself. Problem is you know yourself wrongly. If I did not know myself, no problem in life. In deep sleep state, no problem. Upanishad said that tada sarvan shokan atito bhavati, something like that. He crosses all the shoka. Once I wake up, all of them land upon me, like the mosquitoes or like the bees, flies. So only way Atma can be known is Atma has to be correctly known. It's not unknown Atma to be known. Understand this. If unknown Atma was to be known, I had to do something. I need some instrument. It is wrongly known Atma that is to be known rightly. Therefore, I should know what is wrong in my knowledge about myself. And why that wrong notion arose also I should understand. Then I will know it is wrong. So that's why Vedanta explains. The prakriyas are all developed by Vedanta teachers. Identification, Atma, Anatma, Viveka, etc. What is the reason why these false notions are created? That should be explained. And so the prakriyas are there to explain to us. Upanishad may explain, may not explain also. Upanishad does explain, like Taittiriya Upanishad, etc. They do explain in their own way, each one. But thus we have to analyze. Atma means analyze the conclusions about myself, the notions about myself, the complexes about myself. That is where I must always should pay attention. Unfortunately, my attention is elsewhere, that is my habit. Samyak padatha shodhana purvakam yatma tattvam janati. If you know the Atma without shodhanam, then something else will be Atma. Dakhramevapi nunam vetattvam brahmano rupam. Yadi manyase svedeti. I know Atma. I know Atma very well. Then there is some problem there. Tahramevapi nunam tvam vetta brahmano rupam, then you know some little thing, some part you are taking as a whole. Because only part can be known. Whole cannot become the object of knowledge. You say, I know, that means you know only part. Not that you don't know Brahman, because everything is Brahman, so whatever you know is Brahman, all right, but only part. Samyak padata shodhana purogam yah atma tattvam janati. How clear the Vedantic teachers are, The only way of knowing Atma Tattvam, true nature of Atma, is by subjecting my conclusions and complexes about myself to the scrutiny of reasoning provided by Upanishads and teachers. Sabhahyabhyantaroham, ajirnoham, janmurti charatigoham, iti veti. Then I realize that, hey, I'm not confined, there is no internal and external with reference to I. The internal with reference to body, external with reference to body, there is no internal and external for I. For the part there is sky within, for part there is sky without, for sky there is no within and without. The idea of inner and outer is all because of the reference to body, which is taken to be self. When that is not so, then there is no inner, there is no in and out as far as the consciousness is concerned. Just there is no in and out as far as space is concerned. Samahyabyantara ajiranaha. I don't undergo any kind of decrepitude, change, deterioration. There is jiranatvam, no doubt, in the body. I become jirana, I become deteriorated, decrepitated when I take myself as a body. Janma, mrityu, jara, atigaha. One who transcends janma, mrityu, jara. That's how one sees Atma Tattva. When is seeing Atma, all right, eliminate all this other stuff, that has entered because of non-thinking, wrong thinking. Sukuton viveti. Then what else is there? What is there for him to be afraid of? There is no other thing. Even if there is other thing, then also I can be afraid provided I have to lose something. There is fear of losing something. That is important to me. Fear arises from the possibility of losing something that is dear to me, or getting something that I am not comfortable with. Ragadveshas create fear. There is no other thing. No ragadvesha. Where is the question of fear? Sakuton viveti. That's what Upanishad said, that Atma first was alone and looked around. There's nobody else. Wow, he was afraid. I'm alone. I'm lonely. Say, hey, there's nobody else. What's there to fear with about? Dvitiyadvai bhayam bhavati. There's no dvitiya. Bhayaheto dvitiyasya bahaditatvat. Dvitiya means the other one. So far there was fear because there was the other one. What was outside the body was supposed other than myself, and that became the source of comfort or discomfort, and ultimately fear. Even that which source of comfort also can become fear by the possibility of separation. Moment there is the dependence, there is always a fear. What will happen if this goes away? What will happen if this is not there? As long as my sense of well-being is dependent upon something, fear is built into that. Vityasya bhadri tattva, there is nothing other than me. I am boundless. I don't need anything to become boundless. I don't need anything to become safe or secure, because security or fearlessness is my nature. Vaiheto dvitiyasya bhadri tattvat. The dvitiya, whatever I thought was different from me, caused me fear. Even the favorable also become a cause of fear by the possible losing that. Unfavorable, of course, is a cause of fear by being unfavorable. So what is different from me may be favorable, and both are causes of fear. One by the possibility of separation, other by the possible association, both becomes cause of fear. But dvitiyasya bhaditatvat, hey, what I call other, what sustains that other? What stands apart from me, on what is it standing? I realize that I sustain everything. I am the substratum of everything. So, dvitiyasya bhaya heto, dvitiyasya the dvitiya. Something that stands apart from me can become the cause of fear. Bhaditatvat. They seem to be false, mithya. The otherness is mithya. Understand? And therefore, what is it? Brahmatam pradat, yah atmahanyat brahma veda. So a Brahmana defeats me, rejects me, if I look upon that as separate from me. When there is bhaditam, idam saram yadayam atma, idam brahma, idam kshatram, etc. Idam saram yadayam atma. Therefore, all this sarva is bhaditam. You can see that sarva all right, but doesn't have reality anymore. That's called bhaditam. Ityartha. Meaning that wise person is not afraid of vyavahara, because the vyavahara, that apparent duality doesn't cause, because there is no reality left now. Kutan viveti saha. Kuta, from what source? For what reason? He would be afraid, he would have fear. Iti om. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamada Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavanto Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeri Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.